It's about the I got to say, it's the stupidest thing in sports.
Whoa, he has trouble with the snap, and the ball is free. It's picked up by Michigan State. Jalen Watts Jackson, and he scores on the last play of the game.
Ground ball, right side. Cabrera will cut it off. Galarraga covers. He's out. No, he's safe.
Phoenix has the foul, and a pinnacle ball throws it down.
DeBrincat gets it back to Goss. Straight across now. King.
Save River. They score. Raymond.
Bob Johnson to throw, and it's caught by St. Greg for a first down.
This is BS Sports.
And away we go. Now, I want to just point this out right now because we're not going to spend too much. Excuse me. We're not going to spend too much time on it, just given the fact that I only have a little bit of show notes on it. But I'm wearing Red Wings stuff today. But I'm really only doing this basically out of a sense of tradition. Like, at this point, I'm just sort of spite watching the Red Wings. I just want them to die. Like, I love this shirt, so I'll wear this shirt any day of the week. And I'm always wearing a hat, so whatever. I'll throw on the winged wheel. But I'm just done. I can't take this anymore. This whole we're in and then we're out and then we're in and then we're out. No, just be out. Be out forever. I don't want to. Maybe not forever. Until next year. All right. It's done. I'm done. Because at this point, I can't do it. I can't do it. It's too much. It's just, well, you know what it is? It's because they told me, the Red Wings, they told me that they were done. By going out and trading for Peter Mrazek at the deadline, they told me, we're done. We're done here. Any aspirations for a playoff run, any aspirations for a cup run, any of those, done. Peter Mrazek is on your team. Joe Veleno just got sent to Chicago to die. Like, welcome Craig Smith. Didn't know he was a real person. Anyway, that's pretty much all the hockey analysis I've got. So I just wanted to get that out of the way because I'm wearing all hockey gear and I'm all Red Wingsed up because they're playing tonight and it's a big game. I guess if they win, technically the hope is still alive, but I've given up all hope. So anyway, welcome in, welcome one, welcome all. We got a great show. We got a lot to talk about. Well, I shouldn't say that. I don't want to lead you guys astray. We don't have that much to talk about. We have of the things that we do have to talk about, I think they are interesting. And I think they are scintillating. I think they are worth your attention, worth your glorious hearing, worth it all. We got a great show. We got to talk Pistons. That's the headliner because, Pistons clinch a playoff spot. So we got to talk about it. And not just sort of, I guess, where they're at right now because it's not looking great. But as far as just regardless of the outcome, we're gonna talk about just how impactful this year has been for the Pistons. And we're going to talk a little bit of baseball. I know it's still April. It's still early. We're, into the first homestand for the Tigers and for a lot of teams, first homestand. But I feel like we got to talk about it because I'm just going to warn you now. I'm going to nerd out on some of these stats. We're going to go down the pipeline. We're going to go into fan graphs, which for many baseball fans, it's foreign territory. But for me, it's like kid in the candy shop. It's my avenue, my place to be. So let's just jump into it then. This past Saturday, was it? Yeah, this past Saturday, or Friday, actually, not Saturday. Pistons got themselves a win on the road against the Toronto Raptors and clinched the playoffs for the first time since I believe it was 2018. I think it was 2017, 2018. I could be wrong. It could have been 2018, 2019. So it would have been, I was in high school when they just clawed their way back into the playoffs. The Pistons have finally done it after, half a decade or so of utter ineptitude, a little over half a decade of just utter ineptitude after that playoff run where Blake Griffin dragged the corpse of that team. The Pistons finally get back, and it's not just that they're getting back. It is, in a sense, frankly, it's how they're getting back. They're getting back on the backs of Cade Cunningham and on the backs of Jalen Duren and some of these other young players coming up and making big impacts. And then, obviously, the pro moves. It goes without saying. Tim Hardaway Jr., Malik Beasley, even Tobias Harris. All three of those guys have been impact players for you and have helped push this team from a good team or from a okay team to a good team, And while they've lost 4 out of their last 5, which is not great. You're not going to hear any excuses from me. They've lost 4 out of their last 5. They've only got 3 games left here down the stretch. They got a couple of games against Milwaukee and then a game at home against New York as well. One of the games against Milwaukee also at home. One of the games against Milwaukee is going to be an NBA TV game as well, by the way. So if you have NBA TV, you can go ahead and flip the Pistons game on. Anyway, the struggling down the stretch, maybe you want to say it's like, I don't know. Think of last year when the Tigers clinched the playoffs in the final series of the year, and then they end up losing a 2 out of 3 game set to the worst team in Major League Baseball ever, in the White Sox. I'm not saying that that's an excuse. However, how much of an influence is your seeding really going to have? And look, there is going to be some difference. Like, I think the fact is, at the very least, I think they're locked in at either a 5 or a 6. Okay. So can I pull up the playoff standings? Or maybe, I don't know if this will show the standings, if this will show the playoffs versus division. No. Okay. Yeah, whatever. We'll just forget it. Either way, they're not going to make the 4 seed. I don't think that's even mathematically possible. They are 3.5 games behind. Yeah, 3.5 games behind, and they got 3 games left. So mathematically, not possible. Anyhow, the question then becomes, you're pretty much stuck in between either playing Indiana, if you get it to the 5 seed, or you're going to play New York. Here's the thing. You play New York, and then you play Milwaukee twice. So, assuming you go 500 down that stretch, you win 2 out of 3. Or, heck, you win 3 out of the 3. You win 3 out of 3, you're going to be in that 5 spot because you're going to take down Milwaukee, who's only a game and a half ahead of you. With Indiana, or with New York, basically if you just lose out, you're stuck at that spot. But the question I have is, which team do you really even want? Because to me, I think either team, the Pistons could win the series. I think that they're good enough. I think they are coached well enough. I think they could. I also could very well see them losing because some of the injuries are concerning. They haven't been playing well down the stretch. And Indiana, in particular, has had their number pretty much all year. And I was just thinking, what would be more just delectable? What would be more enjoyable? Would it be the Pistons destroying the Indiana Pacers championship dreams for yet another season? Like, we go on this massive drought of postseason lack of success. Indiana similarly goes through that thing. They kind of rise up. Tyrese Halliburton, they feel like they're on the up and coming, and then all of a sudden objects in mirror are closer than they appear, and the Detroit Pistons are coming right as they are reeling and right as they are like, no, this is our time, and just ruin their playoff hopes like we seem to always do. At least in the early 2000s with Reggie Miller and O'Neal and obviously Ron Artest and all them. Seemed like it was just like, oh, everything's great for the Pacers. Michael Jordan's gone and the Pistons are back. And maybe that's just what it is. When the Pacers get good, the Pistons simultaneously get good so that they can take down the Pacers in the playoffs. People don't think about this. But that's the kind of analysis you'll hear on this show. That's for sure. On the other end of it, you have the New York Knicks. Now, the Knicks are the 3 seed, and they're very good. Jalen Brunson's a very good player. I believe he's coming off of injury. But regardless, the Knicks are, very good. They've won 7 out of their last 10. So they're not exactly cooling off. However, the Pistons against the Knicks this year, if I can just pull up those games. Whoopsie daisical. It's because I got to search New York. There we go. The last time they lost to the Knicks, I believe, yes, the last time they lost to the Knicks was in early November when the Pistons were on a 1-5 start to the season. So things were not off to a good start. They start the season, they lose 4 straight, then they finally get a win against Philadelphia on the road. They lose to New York at home by 30 points. That, I think, that loss, in a sense, kind of was a little bit of a turning point for the Pistons. If you look at just the games they started winning, they got a couple of wins in a row against Brooklyn and against LA, the Lakers in that case. Then they just randomly lose to the Hornets. I can't explain that. They start kind of losing on and off. They're close to 500. They're not quite 500. Things are kind of losing out of control. Then they play the Knicks in December. And they win. And then they're 10-15. And you're like, okay, that was unexpected. They lose to the Celtics, whatever. They beat Miami in overtime. And that was the moment, specifically, when things really started to go well for the Pistons this year. They start rattling off wins. They get 3 in a row. Then they lose. Then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 in a row. Then a loss. Then 2 in a row. Then a couple of losses in a row. Then 2 losses to make it up. Then 3 in a row losses. Either way. And then you get into February and the Pistons just absolutely go off and win 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 games in a row. At that point, they're securely over 500. Or they're definitely over 500. And I think basically since February and maybe even late March, into March, they've been, a much different team. They've been a very, very good team. New York, on the other hand, we haven't played them in a while. Okay. But for some reason, in my mind, it's like, what would I rather want? Would I rather want the Pacers, who, whatever, we have a historic rivalry with them, or would I force those awful networks, ESPN or TNT? I guess TNT is not as bad, but ESPN especially, would I force them to put on the Pistons? And then could you imagine watching as the Knicks just collapse in the first round to a team that won 14 games prior? Oh, there's a part of me. There's a part of me, a sick and twisted part of me. Now, I don't want to lose any game. I would love it if they just won 3 in a row to end the season. That'd be great. However, there is this sick, twisted part of me that just has this not masochist, this sadistic desire to just, okay, let's just match up with the Knicks. And let's just ruin New York sports' day. Because one thing for sure that will always seem to deliver is the New York Knicks losing in the playoffs. If they make the playoffs, that is. But them losing in the playoffs, it just never gets old. And it's funny because I actually like Jalen Brunson, and this Knicks team is not as unlikable as, most other New York teams. But something about like them being the 3 seed, I'm just like, ooh, I just kind of want to, I just kind of want to like ruin their weekend. I don't know. Maybe I'm just a mean person, but that's that. Now, what I wanted to do before we end this segment as well, I want to just put into perspective just how impressive what the Pistons have done is. So I pulled up some of the worst seasons in NBA history. Now, some of these teams were much worse than the Pistons, didn't win double-digit games. Like we're talking the 2012 Charlotte Bobcats. Granted, they didn't play as many games, but that team was bad, needless to say. And I pulled up just a few teams that were kind of comparable to the Pistons, and then I looked up how those teams did the following season. So the first one that I put down was the 97 Vancouver Grizzlies. They finished with the same win percentage as the Pistons did last year. The following year, they somehow managed to get worse. Don't even know how that's possible. The 83 Rockets were another team that I pointed out. I believe this was the Rockets team that went on to draft Hakeem Olajuwon. I could be wrong. I'm not totally sure. The Rockets finished with the same winning percentage as the Pistons. The following year, they won less than 30 games. And before you say, oh, well, those are all older teams. Okay, fine. The 2010 Timberwolves won 15 games. So they won one more game than the Pistons did last year. And the following year, they would go on to just win 17. So all of this is just to say, regardless of, win a playoff series, lose a playoff series, whatever, go to the Eastern Conference Finals or no, I doubt that's going to happen. The fact that the Pistons are where they are, there are only so many teams. If there are really any teams, I didn't, go down every single team. Most of the time when a team has a franchise worst record, they don't just come out next year and make the playoffs with games to spare. What the Pistons have done this year is special, And the fact that the media, especially the national media, now granted, the fact that Money Pistons games were not on national TV was probably as related to the fact that they won 14 games last year. But either way, the fact that this is not as much of a story, not necessarily day to day, but just, a couple of segments about, hey, this Pistons team is doing something that is absolutely unthinkable. I mean, like the idea that you win 14 games one year and make the playoffs the next year, it's unfathomable. So I think it should be shouted out a little bit more. Either way, I'm happy that playoff basketball is back in Detroit. Now let's go out and win some playoff games. So in other news, Jace Richardson, unfortunately, heading to the NBA. He declared for the NBA draft. Man, it's tough. It's tough because he was really good. And I guess the thing that bothers me about it is he was really good. But I don't know that he is first round NBA draft good. And maybe that's me just trying to, I don't know, make some sense that, oh, well, he should have stayed because he's not going to get taken. I'm not going to be surprised if a team takes him. His dad played in the NBA and was a very good player as well. So I don't think it's like a crazy thing. But I still I don't know. Like these guys who have really good freshman years, I don't know. It's a different league than the way it used to be. You used to spend, 2 to 3 years in college and then you were ready for the NBA. It's kind of moved away from that. But unfortunately for the players, I just don't know that you end up really developing better at the NBA level in a way, playing in the NBA. Like it might actually be better potentially for these guys to spend that extra couple of years in college and be an adult by the time you're going into the NBA, as opposed to, Jace is going to be, 20 years old. And then you're going to say, okay, well, he's got to wait like 2-3 years for him to quote unquote develop. I don't know. It's a problem with the NBA. There's not really any fix I can think of other than if the NBA just says, no, you have to have spent 3 years in school or 3 years at a, development program or something. Like you have to be 22 years old or something. I don't know. You have to be 21, 22. Somewhere like around that age. Because the NFL didn't have this problem. The NFL, you can pretty much, maybe you won't know every single player coming out of the draft, but you'll know a lot more. Either way. Oh, I got something in my eye was bothering me, and I continue to scratch it, and then it doesn't actually help, so I just it ends up being worse. So anyway, I should probably talk about March Madness because that happened this weekend. Now, a full disclosure, I really did not watch most of these games because I was out on Saturday, so I didn't watch any of the games on Saturday. And whomever is responsible for scheduling the college basketball men's national championship game, number one, on a Monday night, bad idea. Some of us work for a living. And number two, starting at 8:50 p.m., I went to bed at the first half. I said, nope, I'm not staying up for the second half. Not going to happen. I don't care. It's not Michigan State. It's not a team I hate. I'm not hate watching. I can't do that. I'm not staying up start the game at 7:50 if you're going to do that. Start the game at 7 o'clock. Start the game at 6:30. What you might say, oh, well, they're in San Antonio. San Antonio's 1 hour behind. So you want to say, oh, it's 5:30. It's 5:30 their time. People are getting out of work. Whatever. Want to get those West Coast views. Yes, I'm sure the West Coast was very, very into Florida versus Houston. I'm sure those UCLA basketball fans were really interested in rooting for the Cougars or whatever. Anyway, I should actually talk about the actual games though that I did watch. Oh my gosh, Duke, you blew it. Duke, what the hell was that? Like, what? It was like people. I heard some people saying this. Oh, this wasn't a very exciting. There was no moments. There's no moments. Just those final 2 games. It was like teams that you want it, you can have it. Like you can have it. They just give away games. I get home. I see Duke is down by 6, and I'm like, okay, not a whole, or no, not 6. I'm sorry. Duke is down 3, or Duke is up 3. Let me figure this out. Duke is up 3 points with like 30 seconds to go. I'm like, okay, it's basically over. I saw they had the ball. Okay, fine. All they got to do is inbound it, and even if they don't, and it's a 3, it only ties it up. They're going to get the ball back. It's basically over. It is advantage. It is advantage Duke, basically. Then they pass the inbound, and Houston gets it, and I'm like, oh my gosh. And then they shoot a 3, and they miss it. I'm like, oh. But then they get the rebound, and they slam it down, and it's a 1-point game, and I'm like, oh my gosh, here we go. And so they get the inbound finally, and then Duke gets fouled. So I was like, okay, you got to foul. And they foul. I was like, okay. Because basically the situation is, even if they get both those free throws, it'll be a 3-point game, and you got the basketball. So it's like perfect scenario for you to be able to stay alive. And then they missed the free throw. I was like, oh my gosh, he missed. And then they blow the whistle because Cooper Flagg fouled him. Fouled on the rebound. I think it was a reach. I don't know, whatever the foul was. But, you just hate to see it. But it gets even better. Because I already, I have a natural hater. I'm the winner of the player haters ball from the Chappelle Show. That's where I'm at. But it gets even better because then after the foul, Houston nails both the free throws, despite the fact that the guy shooting the free throws was like a 65% free throw shooter all year. So I was like, oh, okay, this is actually kind of a good situation here for Duke because you're putting not a great free throw shooter. Obviously, it's not ideal, but odds are he's gonna miss maybe one of these. He nails both of them, and Houston's up, and I'm like, oh my gosh, is Duke really gonna blow this? And then they get the ball back, and they call timeout. Because obviously, that's what you got to do. So that you can move towards, the opposite side of the baseline. I was like, okay, here we go. Duke's got the ball. They got the best player, allegedly, in the country. Not allegedly, he actually is. In the country, Cooper Flagg, okay? Inbound gets to him. Cooper Flagg gets to the free throw line. Boxes, makes his move. Fadeaway jumper. And he bricked it. He totally bricked it. And Houston gets the rebound, and I think they foul him or whatever ended up happening. And it's like Christmas. Watching Duke lose in the Final Four, or really watching Duke lose at any juncture, it's like Christmas. It's just truly a joyous time. And then I didn't watch the Florida and Houston game, but congratulations to the Florida Gators. Apparently, Houston did basically the same sort of thing, except they didn't even get the shot off. I watched the final possession because I saw the clip online, and it was like, oh my gosh, if I were a Houston fan, if that was Michigan State doing that, I don't know if I'd be able to emotionally recover from that. I don't know if I'd be able to do the show. I don't know if I'd be able to talk about sports. I think I'd have to take the night off. I'd have to go to seek spiritual assistance. How could God let this happen? That would be the level of emotional just distress that I would find myself in. So I don't have a lot of analysis in terms of the actual events of the game. However, as an armchair analysis to myself, I have to say, I greatly enjoyed, especially these last few games where teams were just collapsing. I mean, you had Texas Tech collapsing against Florida. You had Auburn collapsing against, I think Auburn was pretty much, they just didn't win the game. I don't really know if there was much of a collapse. But and then you had Houston collapsing against Florida. I didn't watch a single Florida game this entire year. I don't watch really anybody outside of my own teams for the most part. The fact that Florida just seemed even you had UConn collapsing against Florida. It was like Florida all tournament long, it seemed to me, was playing with fire and winning. So I don't know if you're a Florida fan, wouldn't that feels like that would be incredibly emotional? I would be like, like an emotional wreck every single game between the, oh my gosh, we're losing at the half. It was, dare I say, it was similar to the season Michigan State had, where it was like, oh my gosh, they're down at the half, or they're losing near the final minutes, but they just come alive and everything starts working. Nobody's making shots, and then dead. The other team, not Florida, but I mean, college basketball is still fun, despite the fact that next year I don't have a whole lot of hope in Michigan State. I'm going to be honest with you guys. The loss of Holloman, well, assuming he doesn't come back, and the loss of Jace Richardson, that's and you're already losing Jaden Akins and all that. So that doesn't look good. Like, I don't even know what we're going to have to be reliant upon the recruits that we get, which is not necessarily a failing effort if you get a recruit like Jace Richardson, but I don't think those guys grow on trees. I don't know. I would not be surprised if Michigan State just kind of falls back from where they were. But hey, we got we got Izzo one more Big Ten title at the very least. So I can live with it. If that was the last hurrah, it was a lot more fun than the last couple of seasons, I'll tell you that much. But either way. Somebody tell the March Madness NCAA Commission to stop scheduling the championship game on a Monday, and furthermore, scheduling it at 8:50 Eastern time on a Monday. So they could just stop doing that, and we'll be good. So the Red Wings have taken a 1-0 lead against the Montreal Canadiens. Dylan Larkin had a goal, or had the goal, I should say. I believe the assist was Marco Kasper. And my spite is growing. It's exponentially growing. Because what happens is, I believe we're 6 points out. If we win, we're 4 points out from Montreal. It would be just like us to get this down to the final game. Let me actually see what our schedule is. Red Wings schedule. Let's see. I believe, we have back-to-backs coming up. But this is our second to last road trip of the season. We got back-to-backs against Florida and Tampa Bay after this game. I swear, man. I swear. If we're gonna get it to where April 17th, okay, at Toronto, the last hurrah, and we're probably gonna blow it. And I can't take it. I just die. Stop winning and just die. Just please, just fall over and just be done. I can't. No more. No more. Where's that drop? Hold on. Where's this drop? Where is it? Where's the drop? Where is it? I have to. There it is.
No more.
No more. No more, Red Wings. We're done. I've thrown you out. I don't want to see you anymore. I'll talk about you by the time the season ends, and hopefully, well, maybe, hopefully they do pull the miracle out and they make the playoffs, I guess. But I don't even know if I'd be happy, because I don't think they're gonna do anything in the playoffs. But hey, what do I know? I'm just a guy with a microphone in front of him. Now, we're going to move on, I guess, to, I suppose, our final segment here. Like I said, not a particularly long show. But I wanted to talk about the Tigers a little bit, because normally I don't really talk about baseball, at least not primarily, until, I don't know, maybe like May. Something would have to be happening in order for me to kind of get locked in, So last week we were only, a little bit into the season. The Tigers had won, I don't know if they actually had. Wait, hold on. Yeah, last week. Okay, but that was a night game, I believe, against the Mariners. They ended up winning. They won a 3-game set against the Mariners. Then they come home, sweep the White Sox. They score 7 runs in 2 of those wins, the first 2 games. And then they come back and walk them off on the Sunday afternoon game. And you go into the Yankee series and you're like, okay, you got wins against the Mariners, who are, they're okay. The White Sox are not good. Then you got the reigning American League champions in the Yankees. Now, granted, they were hurt. They don't have a lot of starting pitching, obviously. But the Tigers went in and absolutely shellacked the Yankees. I don't want to hear about torpedo bats. That's what I don't want. That's what I do not want to hear about. For all the people who, oh my gosh, the Yankees are cheating. We need to get rid of the torpedo bat. Hey man, maybe we do need to get rid of the torpedo bats because it's just too much of an advantage for the other team. Like, because the Yankees look like they were using, candy canes as baseball bats this entire series. And granted, not the final game tomorrow notwithstanding, but here's the thing. I wanted to just kind of dive into the stats of this Tigers team for a little bit because there's something I want to ask about this team. So, obviously some of these numbers are, changing by the second and by the day. But as of when I collected these numbers, the Tigers were top 5 in batting average, top 6 in on-base percentage. They were also top 3 in batting average and balls in play, WRC plus, and as a team, were top 5 in Fangraphs WAR. Now, just checking it now today, Tigers sit at 7th in batting average. In OPS, let's see, they are number 4 in the league in OPS. And then as far as WRC plus, they are 3rd in WRC plus. And batting average on balls in play, they are 4th in batting average and balls in play. And WAR, they are 4th. So they're still outside of batting. Batting average is the only statistic where they dropped out of the top 5 over the, I think I got those stats yesterday. So after today, I guess somehow they managed to get out of the top 5. I don't know exactly how that works, but either way. The question is this real? Is this actually what the offense is? Because it goes a little bit actually deeper than you might think. You might say, okay, well, it's early, so maybe these numbers are not reflecting a reality. Okay, so let's look at some of the players that are leading the way. Well, in terms of WAR, let's see. Obviously, WAR is, a little, TBD, basically. But WAR, you had Riley Green is the top 25. Yesterday, I believe he was in the top 10 or the top 13. Riley Green, 25 in WAR. In WRC plus, let's see. Again, some of these numbers have changed as of today, but you have Spencer Torkelson and Riley Green both in the top 25. 24 and 20, or 24 for Riley Green, 23 for Spencer Torkelson. Both WRC pluses in the 170s. Again, these numbers are kind of crazy because you're so short into the season, but it is what it is. In batting average on balls in play, Riley Green is 7th in the league with 435. All right. In walk percentage, Colt Keith is 2nd in the league, 30%. 30% of the time this guy comes to 1 out of every 3 plate appearances, he's getting on base. That's crazy. That's absolutely crazy. Also, let me actually go back to the team stats, because in home runs, the Tigers, let's see, if the Tigers are also 11th in home runs. As of today, I'm not sure if these stats have totally updated for Fangraphs. They got 12 home runs on the year. They might actually have more. I think they moved into the top 5 today because they had 4 home runs today. Again, I don't know if these numbers have been updated as of today or whatever the case might be. We're not talking about, it's a bunch of no names. It's a bunch of randos kind of going off, It's not like I wouldn't be talking about this if it was Zach McKinstry or I don't know, Jake Rogers. I love Jake Rogers, but if he was like, batting 500 or something, I'd be like, okay, this is ridiculous. He's having a hot start, but he's going to cool off. It's the young players. It's the guys that have been developing. It's Riley Green. It's Colt Keith. It's Kerry Carpenter. It's Spencer Torkelson is the big name. Because when we really stop and actually, let's actually look among first basemen. Where does Spencer Torkelson actually line up? Well, right now, he would be, I believe, 3rd in home runs among first basemen. Again, these numbers are not exactly updated today for Fangraphs, but I guess going into today, he's 3rd in WAR. He's fourth in WRC plus among first basemen. He's number one among first basemen in batting average on balls in play. This was a guy who I was willing to say was a bust. And he's coming out here and he is destroying the baseball. Like, he's not just, slap hitting, bloop shots into right center field. He's smoking the baseball. He had a home run today into the deepest part of Comerica Park. And he had a double to the other deepest part of Comerica Park. So, look, it was one thing last year where you had the pitching that was just absolutely dominant. You had a bullpen that was like just a battery of just guys who not one singular guy was really running away with it, with the best pitcher other than Scooble. But now you're seeing it in your batting. Your batting is coming to life. And in this league, as much as dominant pitching can help you in the playoffs, in terms of seeding, in terms of actual, ultimate success, you need bats. You need hitters. You need guys who can hit for power. You need guys who can hit in tough spots. You need guys that are going to win you games. And Spencer Torkelson, he already has a walk-off winner this year. He already has multiple home runs that's, swing the momentum, right, so to speak. He's already, driving in runs. He's setting you up to where, okay, maybe we don't need Zach McKinstry to hit a home run. He can just hit a long fly ball because Spencer Torkelson got all the way to third thanks to starting off with a double and moving the base runners over on a base hit from Colt Keith. Like, again, I could really just kind of go all in on this and really nerd out on some of these stats. But and I'm not even getting into like the StatCast stuff. I'm not even going in that far. The Tigers looking ahead here, because obviously you already got the Yankees here. So if you lose tomorrow, it sucks, but you've won 5 in a row. So like, fine, I'll take winning 5 out of 6. You go on the road against the Twins and against the Brewers. I know it's very early, but the Twins are not looking good. They've already lost 2 in a row. They're 3-7 on the year. It basically seems like their collapse of last season is, carrying over to this season. And as far as the Brew Crew go, well, they're 5-5, so they're a little bit better. But they're a negative 22 run differential. That's the other thing. Run differential wise, let me see if I can pull that up. I'm pretty sure the Tigers are one of the best teams in run differential. It's not an option. Okay, well, that's nice. I thought I could maybe expanded. I don't know. Was run differential not an option on one of the stats? Can I not? Huh. What about? No? Okay. Anyway, I'm pretty sure they're one of the top teams in run differential. I can let me see if I can pull it up or just like look at it. So we're plus 15, which is best in the division, just ahead of the Royals, who are a plus 2 run differential team. The Yankees are plus 22, so they're the top team in the American League, but you're number 2 in the American League in run differential. And you're behind the Cubs and the Phillies and the Mets and the Padres and the Giants, surprisingly, and the Dodgers even as well. Which, let me see, just 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So you're in the top 10. Either way, you're in the top 10 in run differential. This is the first time in actually, I guess, a pretty long time that the Tigers offensively have come out and just absolutely raked. Just like to the point where you're like, oh, we might actually have an offense, like a real, fully fledged, like genuinely threatening offense. We'll see what tomorrow brings. I mean, if you sweep the Yankees going into your off game or your off day on Thursday, I'm sorry, you might have to start actually being like, hey, wait a minute. Are the Tigers actually kind of legit? Is this like young core all kind of coming together? The pitching, Casey Mize has been absolutely electric. If you get him to pitch at the level that he is supposed to pitch as, being a former number 1 overall pick, if you have a pitching staff of Tarek Skubal, who's a Cy Young pitcher, Casey Mize, who the way he's going, he might be a Cy Young pitcher, and a vet like Jack Flaherty. I'm telling you, that is a recipe for winning 3 out of 5, basically every 5 games. And that'll get you far. That'll get you far. And, you know, it's a long season and we still got an entire month left to play. But I'm feeling good. I'm feeling pretty confident about the status of this team. So the stats seem to back it up. I do think that this offense can legitimately do this, just because it's a transfer over of what we saw from last year as far as the development things. And, you know, guys are only going to get healthy. You know, we still don't have Parker Meadows. We still don't have Matt Vierling. Wenzel Perez just went on the 60-day IL. You know, not like all those guys are, you know, superstars, Barry Bonds or something like that. But, you know, it's probably better than Manuel Margot or Javi Baez, or who actually had a pretty decent start. But either way, I'm excited about this Tiger team. I really I didn't think I'd be this excited going into the month of April. I thought I was going to be a little bit of like, okay, can you just stay afloat? They might do a little bit more than just stay afloat. They might actually be really fun throughout the month of April, going into the spring here, and then into the summer. And we might have just a joyous summer where we can just have fun, which was what we kind of lost last year, where it was just fun sort of near the end into the fall. But if we can just have a year of that, man, baseball in Detroit might just be back. And that looks like that's the end of the first period. So the Red Wings are up 1-0. They've outshot Montreal 24-5. Oh my gosh. Jeez. That's a lot. Anyway, that's pretty much all I got. Yeah. So that's the show. So as we kind of inch closer and closer, the draft is just in a couple of weeks. April 24th, I believe, is the draft here. And I mean, I don't know what I'm exactly going to do for that. I would like to do a live reaction to the draft to see, you know, what the Lions end up doing, what the rest of the league ends up doing. Seeing does Shedeur Sanders actually end up becoming a Cleveland Brown, because that would be absolutely hysterical. But either way, that's kind of what to look forward to. But the other thing to point out, the end of the regular season for the Pistons will be on Sunday. The postseason will begin, I believe, that weekend, that Saturday. Depending on the time of the game, I very well could do a live reaction. I won't guarantee it because I don't know what the schedule is going to be like. But, you know, we'll see by the end of, you know, by next week, we'll know, and probably playing games will be happening at that point. So either way, that's it. It's a shorter show, but, you know, that time of the year. So if you did enjoy the show, please hit the like, please hit the subscribe button. I do greatly appreciate it. We'll be back next week to break down all the sporting news of the week. We'll have a better idea of whether or not the Red Wings are going to make the playoffs, and we'll know exactly who the Pistons will be matched up against. So it's going to be a lot of fun. With all that being said, I do appreciate anybody for stopping by, listening in, and hanging out. I will get going here right now, but I hope to see you all next Tuesday. Have a good night, everybody, and I'll see you next week. See ya. Goodbye.